Hey guys, welcome to the Pet Brand Podcast, the go-to show for all the things pet brands, where we dive into the stories, strategies, and successes behind the most innovative pet businesses around. Today, we are thrilled to have us with Jessica Morris, the brilliant co-founder of the Canine Menu and the UK's favorite dog menu for dog-friendly hospitality outlets. Jessica and her teams are revolutionizing the way we include our four-legged family members in dining experiences. From hypoallergenic, long lasting dog chews to their partnership with dog friendly menus, the Canine Menu ensures dog feel safe just as welcome as their human companion. Jessica, welcome to the Pet Brand Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great, amazing, amazing. So yeah, let's get started from the beginning. Like let's start with your journey, but inspired you to start create the Canine Menu.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's quite a funny story actually. Probably like a lot of people in the UK, when everything locked down for COVID, my business partner and I were actually loosely family. Well, we're now he's now my brother-in-law. Now everybody's married in the family. We actually both got dogs during COVID,
Okay.
and we were out at the pub one day. We'd taken our dogs for a walk, and it was at the time where hospitality went through a really difficult patch in COVID because obviously everything shut down and
Mm-hmm.
they just reopened. And it was that sort of eat out to help out scheme. So we went out for a lovely dog walk. We ended at the pub like a lot of people do. And when we got there, my dog was really young, so she was quite an exuberant puppy, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to take chews with me to the pub so that when we got there, I could give her the chew. I could have I could have a drink, I could have a meal, chat with my
Mm-hmm.
friends, and she'd be occupied.
Yeah.
Um, and when I got there, I realised I'd forgotten to take the two with me. So I was like, oh man, that's so annoying. She's going to be pestering me all the time. They had gravy bones on the bar, so I could give her some snacks, but it wasn't the same as giving her a long lasting chew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a really strange moment because I sort of looked around and the beer garden was full of dogs, like
Mm-hmm.
absolutely teeming with dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I looked at Nick and I said, isn't it crazy that you can't buy anything for dogs at the pub? Like, wouldn't it be great if the pub actually sold dog chews?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now my background, I'm mostly from a tech background actually, but
Uh-huh.
I sort of made my way into the pet industry.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick's background is food service, so it was at that point that we sort of went, okay, our backgrounds match up quite nicely here. Maybe we could do something interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, like in terms of like tech background, were you still in the pet industry or like it was totally different field?
It was totally different. My background, I actually started in fintech, and then made my way into the pet industry, and it was a very intentional move for me because I love dogs, and
Uh-huh.
I listened to loads of podcasts about trying to
Mm-hmm.
find your why and trying to work out what career is right for you and where you should sort of
Mm-hmm.
be in your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I actually intentionally made the move for a job to move down to London, which was getting me into the pet industry because I realized, when I got a dog, I'd always wanted a dog. Like I'd always been pestering my parents for a dog
Same
ever
with
since I was
me.
a kid. Like, yeah, I just absolutely loved it. And
Yeah.
it's that one thing for me, that passion that has never gone away, and I know
Mm-hmm.
will never go away. So yeah,
Yeah.
I sort of intentionally made the move, and I haven't looked back since.
Amazing, amazing. And I was going through your to your website and there was this term that you were using, dog friendly revolution, right? So
Mhm.
like it's so compelling. So what does the revolution mean to you and how does the canine menu play a role in it?
I love that question. So I think typically when a hospitality outlet, or at least maybe a couple of years ago, if a
Mm,
hospitality outlet said they were dog friendly, that
mm,
generally meant you can bring your dog in, you'd probably be kept to a separate area, you might be given a stainless steel bowl of water, there might be some gravy bones on the bar.
mm,
That was pretty much it, and that constituted a dog friendly venue. But I don't know about you, but I think of my dog as part of my family. I've actually got two
mm,
dogs, and we treat them like children now. They're
mm,
such a huge part of our lives,
mm.
and you wouldn't dream of going to somewhere with a child that didn't have something to entertain them, or a kids menu, for
Yeah.
example. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, I think the dog friendly revolution, it's about making dogs an expected part of the experience, really making them welcome, treating them like guests, because there already are lots of dogs walking into these venues.
Yeah.
Why are we not sort of actually accommodating them?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said at the beginning, making them feel safe and making them feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And your dog menu is described as easy to activate for venues. So like, could you walk us through the entire process? Like, how does it looks like you connect with these venues, and how does like stocking and everything works out?
Yeah, it's so simple. And this is like, I love this business because when I'm out and about and people say, what do you do? And I say, I've got a business, and they ask me about it, I can describe it to them in like a sentence and they're like, oh, right. Yeah, I get it. That's really cool. So the premise is we have a core range of 3 long-lasting chews.
Mm-hmm.
We've kept it really simple. We don't have loads of SKUs.
Mm-hmm.
We've got several other products that you can add on if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
but
But your main
generally,
focus are those three. Yeah.
exactly, it's those 3 chews, and they're going to guide. Um, so if you were a hospitality venue and you'd connected with us somehow, whether that's a trade show, we've sent you samples, or you found us
Mm-hmm.
online, essentially you buy the chews, we send
Mm-hmm.
you a box that's normally got 10 of each type, and it's got a branded wooden crate in the box as well, and it's got 10 printed menus plus a window sticker. So if you think about it, what that means is when you get the chews, you've got something to put them in. It's only about this big. It's not huge. Pop that on the bar.
Yeah.
That's your display, and you've got the printed menus to put out on the tables, and you've got the window stickers to put in the window. So quite a lot of dog owners, they will research somewhere to go that's dog friendly, but there's a fairly large chunk that will just be out on a dog walk, especially if you're in a high footfall area, and they
Mm-hmm.
just need to see, is this place dog friendly? So
Yeah.
we're making sure that
Mm-hmm.
it's advertised up front, and then once you
Mm-hmm.
get into the venue, you've got the material there. So if they don't go to the bar because they're sat outside with the dog, they can still see that you have something there for their canine
Mm-hmm.
friend.
Mm-hmm. And your focus is on 100% natural products. And
Yeah.
that's very impressive. So like, why was this such an important value for your brand?
Yeah, well, I guess if you like, I approached this from a perspective of I wanted something to solve a problem for me and my dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I really care about what I'm feeding them. I especially when you're feeding them a treat, like the last thing you want is for them to get a bad tummy after that. Like it
Mm.
might be a good experience at the time, but if later on you're dealing with a dog that's not
Yeah.
feeling so well, like you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to buy that chew again. So we wanted to make sure that the products were obviously safe for dogs, number one, that they were tasty because we need to make sure that they want to eat them. If you buy a relatively premium priced chew and then your dog turns their nose up at
Yeah.
it, that's not a great experience. And then we wanted to make sure that it was like easy on the tummy, easy to digest, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a bit of a boom in natural chews around COVID time. Like there were lots of treat
Yeah.
boxes,
Mm-hmm.
appearing. The dog delis kind of had a bit of an explosion in
Mm-hmm.
pet shops.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like those kind of products were the right fit for our
Yeah.
brand, which is very, very artisan and very
Mm-hmm.
natural.
Mm-hmm. And you have also partnered with Woof and Brew, right? And like,
Yes.
and that's for like dog beer and wine. So like, how
Yeah.
did this collaboration come about, and what has been the response from your customers?
Yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, the bottom sniffer dog beer is always a popular product, and people always find it very entertaining to give to their dogs. Um, I think the partnership really came about just from networking with the pet industry. We're firm believers that we can't do everything ourselves, and we certainly can't do everything exceptionally well
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
if we think there's a gap in the market for a certain product or a certain activity, let's say, and we don't think we're going to be the best at it, then we will look for someone who will be the best at it. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, anything that you launch, if it's not the top quality, then in
Yeah.
hospitality it's going to fall
Yeah.
flat.
Uh-huh.
Because when you go out for a day out, to the pub or to a restaurant, you
Mm.
expect like special treatment because
Yeah.
you're out spending your money.
Definitely. And talking more about the branding and everything, uh, building trust with both pet parents and hospitality venues is definitely not a small feat, right? So how did you approach marketing the canine menu in the early days when you
Yeah.
didn't really had this loyalty going
Yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error. And it is a really weird crossover of marketing to businesses because we are a B2B brand
on?
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's so important that the end consumers knew who we were and trusted our products, because if they weren't buying them from the hospitality venues, then the hospitality venues wouldn't be reordering. So we had to make sure we were tackling both of those things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think social strategy has been a big one for us, right from day one. So we knew we needed to build that sort of community with our end consumers, the dog owners,
Mm-hmm.
um, to sort of build the awareness of the brand and really show our products out in the market doing well.
Yeah.
So we've always put a lot of time and effort into that. And
Mm-hmm.
then building that trust with businesses. We actually, again, started a lot through social. So we tended to find that our early adopters, they were kind of, I don't know what the best way to describe it is. They were quite out there with their social media. Like they got social media as a strategy, so they were posting regularly. They saw the power of social media, and
Mm-hmm.
we found that those types of venues, they would also be willing to try something different with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Basically, the perfect match for you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. So we kind of stumbled upon that. And then we just did a lot of cold reaching out to people via Instagram, like a lot of cold emails. I mean, the rejection is it's pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
So, like,
they're used
was
to
there
that.
any specific reason like why they were rejecting your approach?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, the biggest soundbite we got was two things. Either one, oh, I already give out free dog treats, so I
Uh-huh.
don't need your product, even though, like, obviously we were like, it's different, it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was, why would I want to sell dog food at my
Mm-hmm.
pub?
Mm-hmm.
So we really had to get over that barrier of like, we're not dog food. Like, it's not dog food. It is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. Yeah, that's not how we describe ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great, great. And I'm sure running a pet brand comes with its challenges, right? So, like, what's been the most unexpected hurdle you have faced since launching the Canine Menu?
Most unexpected challenge. I think supply chain is really difficult, actually. And I think the reason this is difficult for our brand in particular is we made a conscious decision to keep a very small number of SKUs. So, like I said, we have the three core chews. And
Mm-hmm.
if you think about the manufacturers of those chews, they tend to manufacture a huge range for the dog deli in the pet
Mm-hmm.
store. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think the dog deli in the pet store, if they can't get pig's ears, maybe they'll take chicken feet. And they're not so fussy about it. They might have the best sellers, but really, as long as they've got a big range for the dog owners coming into the store, they're not so fussed about specifically what they're receiving. For
Mm-hmm.
us, we put a lot of pressure through three individual products.
Yeah.
And then obviously they are naturally sort of naturally
Good for the
created
health of the dogs,
products.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And with that comes with a lot of variation. So our packaging is, it's thin and it's very clean and it's very well put together. What
Mm-hmm.
happens if the product that you receive is rolled a bit wonky, or it's a bit of a funny shape, or that sort of stuff happens. So trying to find those suppliers who will work with you
Mm-hmm.
on the manufacturing of those products has definitely been a journey, let's say.
And on the flip side, like what's been your proudest moment so far with the brand and with your business?
I think probably proudest moment so far, I think, is landing some of the big customers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and actually maybe some of the small customers as well. So I think there's some like key moments where it was the first customer, that was amazing. Like the first pub that went, yes, I'll buy that. I remember that vividly. The first pub group, that was amazing because we were like, wow, this person's, I think they only had like 5 pubs, and we were like, oh my god, it's a group, it's amazing. Our first food service distributor was a big moment, and then more recently we've had really big customers, people like Center Parks going live with us, Liberation Brewing Company, McMullen's Pub Company, Young's Pubs, like some really big customers where when you land that account, you're like, yes, like this is what we're here for.
Mhm. And do you have any specific competitor in this niche who are doing exactly what you guys are doing?
Yeah, there's a couple. So there's one competitor who were around for a good while before us. A pretty similar proposition, but their products are very different. And then there's one who appeared actually probably roughly the same time as us, maybe a few months later, and their
Mm-hmm.
products are very similar, but how they position themselves is slightly different. So they're more like a local small business, whereas we're more like trying to be quite national and get that route to market. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we definitely have competitors. We're pretty like I'd say we're pretty close. I mean, one of them we're pretty close to. We see them at trade shows all the time because obviously we're marketed in the same places. So you have to like see these people and get to know them. And at the end of the day, that how many packets of crisps do you get in a pub? There's
Uh-huh.
plenty of space. We think this market is going to grow.
Uh,
So we think there's going to grow to be space for all competitors at different price points and different
mhm,
propositions. So
mhm,
um, yeah, we're kind of cool with it.
mhm. And you also have a co-founder, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Nick. Yeah.
And so like how do you like divide your responsibilities? Like is there any particular dynamic that makes your partnership work?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really fun journey actually. So we are, as I said before, we are family members. He's my brother-in-law. So
Mhm.
but we didn't really know each other that well when we went into it. So we're very lucky that we work well together because that could have been a really awkward Christmas dinner otherwise. But in terms of responsibilities, to be honest, our skill sets are so different.
Mhm.
They're just so separated that it makes life a lot easier. He is super commercial sales. He runs the operations. He's a real like proactive, like get it done, like let's go kind of person.
Mhm.
Um, I'm like very much the marketing, the branding, the tech side of things, and tend to head up more of the like processes. So like payroll and food safety, those sort of more slightly more detailed things. I
Mhm.
think I'm probably more of a process driven, like let's make sure we're writing down what order we're doing it in and checking back on what we're doing.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
between us, like we we challenge each other all the time. We disagree all the time, but it's never a bad thing. It's always very constructive.
Mhm. And beside that, do you have like other employees in the brand? Like,
Yeah, we've got 9 employees now,
wow.
all operational employees. So they're all helping us packing the shoes, running the warehouse, doing
Mhm.
fulfillment, that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, hoping to grow quite significantly over the next couple of years. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm looking forward to expanding the team. Actually, that's probably what I'm like most excited for next.
Mhm. Amazing. And what like throughout your journey, like what is the best piece of advice you have ever received about running a business, like and how it like shaped your journey?
Best piece of advice. It makes me immediately think of a professor that I had at university. So I did a master's in entrepreneurship, which I absolutely loved actually. I mostly did it because I realised I didn't know anything about accounting. So I thought, God, if I want to start a business in the future, I should really learn that sort of stuff. Um, and I had a professor, he's actually head of the business school now,
Okay.
David Park. And he said he would always, like, no specific soundbite, but he would always be like, why haven't you done it yet? He would always be like, I'd be like, oh, I've got this idea, or I'm thinking about doing this.
Mm,
And he'd be like, well, why haven't you done it yet? Why haven't you just got out there and just tried
mm,
it? And I think
mm,
that's always stuck with me because whenever there's something that I think I want to do and I'm kind of, dithering around, I always think like, what's holding me back here? Is it me? Is it because I
Mhm.
don't believe in the idea? Is it because there's some kind of evidence that it's maybe
Mhm.
not going to work? And how
Yeah.
can I validate that?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
in the early
And
days of
sometimes
the
it's just the belief systems or the
mm,
your mental paradigm, right? Your perception toward a
exactly,
specific thing, and those limiting
exactly
beliefs.
that.
That's why people don't really take actions. Yeah.
Exactly that. I mean, in the early days of the Canine Menu, it was scary to go out and sell.
Yeah.
But but I, remember thinking like, why wouldn't I just do it? So I would be out in person with a box, and I'd be
Mm-hmm.
walking into pubs and going, look, it's 50 quid. Back then it was 52's 50 quid, and I'm trying to sell it, and they're giving me cash for it. And it's those sort of things where,
Yeah.
yeah, his voice is always in my head, going like, just do it. If you want to do it, just do it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, there's another voice like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, totally.
There's
I mean,
always
sometimes
this doubtful, yeah.
totally, yeah. But I think the best way to tackle that if you've got doubts is get out there and prove whether your doubts are right or wrong, and then at
Yeah.
least you
Mm-hmm.
know. Because at least if you go out and it doesn't work, you can say, "Well, I tried it and it didn't work," and you can move
Mm-hmm.
on. When you get
Yeah.
a lot of armchair entrepreneurs who sit there and go, "I've got a great idea," it's like an idea is always going to be great if it's only in your head.
Yeah.
The real test is
Uh-huh.
to put it out there in the world and see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, definitely. And the Canine Menu offers products like hypoallergenic chews and dog beer. So how do you research and test new products to ensure they are safe and enjoyable for dogs?
Well, we have a very rigorous testing process with our own dogs, that's for sure. They absolutely love doing the taste testing. No, there's I would say that how we go about adding new products, it always has to address a particular need in the
Hmm.
dog friendly space. So we've
Hmm.
added quite a few products recently. The brewery bites are our most recent launch, and they are essentially a competitor to the gravy bones that you get on the bar. And
Hmm.
the reason we've done that is, one of the things is that the pub, they're actually sending their staff members to the
Hmm.
local pet shop or, to the local supermarket to buy cheap, really cheap dog biscuits, like bulk buy dog biscuits to put in a jar.
Hmm.
And one, we don't really want food service outlets buying from retail. Like that just doesn't really make sense in terms of costs for them and in terms of their food service distributors. They want
Yeah.
all of their purchases to be going through them.
Hmm.
And then from a customer perspective, like they're just those biscuits like full of carbohydrates, like they're doing nothing for the planet. They're
Hmm.
mass produced. They're not good for your dog. Like
Hmm.
half the time your dog doesn't even want to eat them. They'll like spit them out afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, so we've launched our brewery bites, which are made from upcycled brewers' spent grain. So we're actually working with some of the brewers that already stock our products, taking the spent grain from the brewing process and upcycling those into dog biscuits, which can then go on the bar. And that's
Hmm.
all through the food service route to market.
Hmm.
So in terms of like the process, we always look for what actual proposition does this product have? Can it hold its own? Like, if you only had that product, could it stand on its own 2 feet? And then
Hmm.
if we think that that's the case, then we think it's worth launching. And then obviously we go through the whole, what does the supply chain look like? Do we believe in the company that's manufacturing it? Does it have
Hmm.
stability? Because if we're looking at scale again through one product, can it like hold
Hmm.
its own there? And then the main one for us, do the dogs like it?
Hmm.
Because a product can
That's the
be
point of it all.
exactly, a product can be as healthy as you like.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, if you've gone to a pub on a family day out, you've spent a few pounds on a product for your dog, you put it down and they turn their nose up at it, no one is going to ever buy from your business ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. And like, how do you give some like educate the venue staff or something like serve our product this way or anything like that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of like sales meetings
Okay.
with different venues and with distributors. We've got
Hmm.
a few like sales kit type things that's got like FAQs on it. We've
Hmm.
got cheat sheets that we hand out at trade shows, those sort of
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
Yeah, we've got big dreams for like, running things like dog first aid courses, or something that's a bit more interactive. But
Mhm.
the tricky thing will always be hospitality people are incredibly busy. If you think about running a pub,
Mhm.
selling dog treats is right at the bottom
Yeah.
of your priorities
Yeah. Yeah.
list. You've
Mhm.
got staffing, you've got sourcing, you've got,
Mhm. Mhm.
there is so much to do. So we're constantly trying to find that balance between taking enough share of their attention to get our products in front of them, but also understanding that they've got a business to run at the end of the day, and we
Yeah.
know how difficult that is.
Definitely. Talking more about the marketing and the branding side, like your branding is very inviting and playful, right? So like what inspired the tone and the visuals of the Canine Menu?
Oh, yeah, that's lovely. I guess it kind of wrote itself, I would say, as a brand. So we, as we started selling, we were always really keen for uh, our products to be natural and to be sustainable. So that kind of like straight away guides you in a certain direction.
Mm.
Also, when it comes to hospitality, if you think your shoes are going to be on the bar at so many different venues, like,
Mm.
they could be in like an underground pizza place that's like really like dark and vibey and,
Mm.
like
Mm.
bold colors. It could also be in a rural pub that's like really floral and decorative and quite
Yeah.
vintage. So
Mm.
our brand almost needed to be a chameleon in that sense. It needs to be able
Mm.
to fit wherever
Fit
you
in
put
both
it.
the scenarios, yeah.
Yeah, so it needed to be very like low key and very tasteful. So that kind of guided us that way.
Mm.
Um, and then in terms of like our tone of voice from a brand perspective, we try and stay away from too many puns. I think a lot of pet businesses get really pulled into the pun side of things.
They
And
use
like
possible, PAW
everything,
everywhere.
everything is a paw,
Yeah.
everything is a pup,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and I get it, like it's really playful and that's really fun for
Yeah.
some retail brands,
Yeah.
but
It's
for
everywhere.
us, yeah, it's too much. And we're kind of like, we see dogs as family members, but we also see them as dogs, and we think that they should be treated, because we think, a dog being a dog, that doesn't mean they're not inferior to anybody. It's just that's how they should be treated because they are a
Mm.
dog. So
Mhm.
we're very keen on lowering the puns, keeping it quite like tasteful,
Mhm.
and quite classy. So yeah, the brand, all of those brand identity principles, they kind of all came together, and they
Mhm.
created this quite artisan, and quite, like you said, inviting, friendly tone to the
Mhm.
whole thing.
Mhm. Definitely. And like, so are you regarding the content of your social media? So like, what kind of contents have you seen that worked really well for your specific brand?
Oh man, people love dog memes. People
Yeah.
just love
Uh-huh.
anything that's a bit silly, anything that is silly that makes them laugh. I mean, I think that's social media anyway, but we do a lot of like product content, and we have loads of user generated content, which is
Mhm.
amazing. The people
Mhm.
love taking photos of their dog in the pub with the
Mhm.
chew,
Mhm.
and that like honestly keeps things going for us. But like around that, the content that we generate that has had the most success, we had a reel, I think it was maybe back in September, that got 4.3 million views. That is by far our biggest performer, and
Mhm.
it's like a cap cut meme of a dog with a sun hat on calling his parents to be like, why am I still at home with grandma when you've gone on holiday? And like people went mad for it. They went absolutely mad for it. And I
Yeah.
think we got something like 700 followers just generated from that reel, which is crazy.
Uh-huh.
So we try and do a mix, because we're not a dog meme account. We need to make sure that our products are out there, but we
Mhm.
do quite a few funny reels and
Mhm.
kind of jokey things just to keep that engagement alive.
Mhm. Coming back to the question of skepticism from the hospitality venues, like,
Mm.
did you face any skepticism from hospitality venues when you first pitched the idea of a dog menu, or like, if you face those objections, like how did you overcome them?
I think a lot of it was persistence and education. And
Mm,
I think the key for us is if we can get our products physically in front of people,
mm,
then they see what the difference is. So then they see that it's different to a gravy bone. Then they see how they can monetize that, and that becomes an additional revenue stream for them. So I think it was the barrier as a small startup was showing that we didn't have a track record. So it was showing that that could generate a significant revenue stream for them. So,
mm,
um, once we were a year in, we then had the sales data from several of our stockists, and there was actually one who sold twice as many nuts in,
mm,
like bags of peanuts in
mm,
one period. Sorry, twice as many dog chews as peanuts in one
mm,
period. So it was using data like that that really started to instill that confidence. But
mm,
in the early days, I would say it was mostly just showing up, being present, it, especially in social media, like treating it like a physical space. And
yeah.
the more you visit, the more
Mm,
you speak to people there, the more, when they go, oh, so and so's that pub over there has got a dog menu. Like, oh, I remember that. I remember that company. Like they messaged us, 6 months ago, and they
mm,
called it's just like being front of mind, I guess. Um, so yeah, a lot of it is persistence, and it's quite funny now because we'll get posts from hospitality venues
mm.
of like now stocking the canine menu, and I'll click on them to follow them, and I'll click on the messages, and there's like a message from us in 2021
Ah,
saying, "Hey, you're a new business," like, and it's taken them 3 years,
yeah.
but now they get it, they're here, it's the
Mm,
market is building, so
mm, mm.
yeah, sticking
And
with it.
and do you foresee the Canine Menu branching into other pet categories like cat-friendly products or services, for instance?
Probably not. So, in terms of our expansion, we're unlikely to. We're very focused on dog-friendly hospitality, and I think
Mm,
we will
mm,
probably stay there
mm,
for our entire business life. Like, I think that is our lane, and I think we want to be incredibly good at that particular sector. Where I think we probably will branch out is
mm,
dog-friendly hospitality can include so many different kind of categories, I guess.
mm,
Um, so we've already expanded to having welcome packs for hotels. So overnight stays is quite a big one. We
mm,
might look to do something more premium for the super upmarket premium restaurants and premium hotels, those sort of places.
mm,
And then for us, what's on our mind really is people all over the world love their dogs, and there are several countries that are actually even more dog friendly than the UK is. And
mm.
similarly, over there, they don't have dog menus like we're bringing to
Yeah,
the market.
yeah.
So we're looking at expansion in Europe and potentially further afield.
Mm,
So we kind of want to take that lane and bring more people into it
mm,
internationally, but we'll
mm,
probably stick to what we know.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. And how do you see the concept of dog-friendly venues evolving in the next 10 years or in the future? Like what do you think the it will look like?
I think, like anything, it will go through a curve of adoption, and then it will probably go through a curve of um, not restriction, but kind of. I think it will become more formalized in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fully expecting that the dog friendly occasion is going to grow as many hospitality outlets see the benefits of inviting dogs and dog owners into their stores. Um, and I think we're starting to see that in the mainstream now. So, for example, Costa, they went dog friendly not long ago, a couple of months ago. So they've now got uh, quite a lot of their stores in the UK are now dog friendly, so you can actually go into them with your dog, which is amazing. And I think that will continue to happen. I think there are still quite a lot of large chains that are not dog friendly, and there's still
Yeah,
scope for
yeah.
those to
Mm-hmm.
to go dog friendly. And then I think over time you will probably have venues who take a stance of we are not dog friendly, and they will sort of differentiate themselves in that way. But I think what's more likely to happen is venues will be dog friendly, but dog friendly as a term will be more defined. So it will be like by being dog friendly, yes, there's water and yes, you can come in with your dog, but we also cater for dogs while you're there. We also have areas where maybe it's not dog friendly. So if you've got allergies or you've got children and you don't want to sit near dogs, then you can be away from them. Like, I think just the whole thing will get a little bit more sophisticated and a bit
Yeah.
more
Mm.
organized, I guess, is maybe the
Mm.
term.
Mhm. Definitely. And are there any upcoming trends or in dog food or treats that you are particularly excited about, or like that you think that could, change the pet industry as a whole? Not specifically for the dog friendly avenues, but like on the whole.
Yeah, I think everything as a whole is getting a lot more functional. I think
Mm.
everything is becoming a lot more intentional about what we feed, what we put into our dogs' bodies, essentially. So I think consumers are increasingly aware of the pros and cons of different types of dog food, and
Mm.
not just that, but specifically for my dog, what do they need? So there's obviously a huge rise in supplements, for example,
Mm.
um, and I think that I think that yeah, nutrition as a whole is definitely becoming more of a mainstream concern for for humans as well as dogs. What I was going to say then is you tend to find that um, the pet industry follows the human industry just kind of a few years behind that,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
the rise in people caring about their nutrition
Mm.
and detailed nutrition, not just like eat fruit and veg. It's
Yeah.
like what protein am I putting in my body? What grams of protein am I putting in my body
Mm.
to achieve the goals I have?
Mm.
I think people will probably start to go on that journey with their dogs. And with so my I'm from a sports dog background, and I did agility with my dog, and we showed at Crufts, and I was like in the real like proper
Mm.
um dog person world, not she was a pet, but she was also like, we did a lot of hobbies together. And
Mm.
in those circles, dog nutrition is huge. And I think you're already starting to see people taking that nutrition incredibly seriously
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
how they hydrate their dog and how they fuel them. So yeah,
Mm.
I think functional nutrition is definitely on the rise. I'm interested to see what that does for the pet dog population and how we feed our pets on a day-to-day basis.
Mm, definitely. And you mentioned receiving feedback from both the venues and dog owners, right? So can you share a memorable piece of feedback that changed or shaped your business in some way, impacted you?
Yeah. I think the
There must be a
nuts.
lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. I think the data about the nuts sales was
Mm.
huge for us, because when you think about like, bags of peanuts, when you think about a British pub, and go into a British pub, there's going to be crisps, there's going to be nuts, and that's kind of trying to think if there's anything that I've missed, like pork scratchings, probably. They're the snacks that you expect at a pub. Like, there is no way you're going to go to a British pub and
Mm-hmm.
not see a bag of like KP nuts, for example, for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were speaking to Matt at the Norfolk Arms, who gave us this feedback, and he said, "Look, I've sold twice as many dog chews. I think it was in January, like 2023 or something, or 2024. I can't remember which year. I've sold twice as many dog chews as peanuts." We were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Wow, okay." So
Yeah.
you take that thing that's like quintessentially British pub culture, and
Mm.
now we're introducing this product that is truly incremental sales. Like, that's not taken away from nut sales. You can
Mm.
still sell a bag of peanuts and sell a dog chew. Like, this is amazing. So
Mm.
we've definitely started to play on that a lot more when it comes to sharing
Mm.
that with our customers,
Mm.
and also the revenue potential of dog chews. I think at the Norfolk Arms they sell dog chews for £2.50. They sell a bag of peanuts for £1.50. So if you're
Mm.
selling twice as many dog chews, the revenue
Yeah.
is even higher because of the ticket
Mm.
price on that
Mm.
item.
Mm.
So I think that really gave us the confidence that we deserved a space
Mm.
in pubs across the
Mm.
UK
Mm.
just as much as
Mm.
good old packet of peanuts does.
Mhm. Definitely. And like coming back to the question to your team, like how big is your team at the Canine Menu, and like what's your approach to building a company culture that reflects your brand values?
That's a big one, and it's something that we really care about, and we've put a lot of thought into, and we talk about it all the time, Nick and I, because at the end of the day, financial success is great. Growing a business to scale is great,
Mm-hmm.
but we've left our corporate careers to create a business, and I care so much that that business is enjoyable to work for and is growing our people in the way that they want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say when it comes to culture, there are lots of things that you can't control. You can't control how people behave. You can't
Yeah.
control,
Yeah.
you can't control how people react in certain circumstances. All of
Mm-hmm.
those things, like people politics, it's going to happen anywhere you go. That's just life. But
Mm-hmm.
the things that you can control are how you treat people when they turn up to work, how you talk about people both in front of them and away from them. And I think that's really key. Making sure that the way that you're speaking about your staff and sort of treating your staff behind closed doors and away from them is so important. And I would say that, if you ever come across anybody who doesn't speak highly of their staff, I would steer well clear. Um, and then like the benefits, how you pay people, the benefits you offer, the
Mm-hmm.
working patterns that you offer. So
Mm-hmm.
we, from day one, made the decision to be well, make sure I get this right now, a living wage employer, because there's actually two different. There's the national living wage, which is set by the government, and
Yeah.
then there's the real living wage, which is
Mm-hmm.
actually really what
Yeah.
people should be paid.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
always a bit of a gap, and that
Yeah.
has closed a little bit this year, which is or coming up next year, which is
Mm-hmm.
great, expensive but great. Um, so we made that decision on day one because that's a real commercial impact to our business, because obviously our labor costs are involved in a lot of our pricing and that sort of thing. So we made that decision up front because we want to put company culture and our people first and foremost, because without those people wanting to turn up to work and feeling, healthy and secure and financially
Yeah.
stable,
Mm-hmm.
without that you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of our staffs are actually either working mums or they're fitting it around studying or something like that. So our working patterns are super flexible. As long we have certain targets that we need to hit to keep the wheels turning, but as long as we're hitting those targets, if you need to leave to go and pick your kid up at 3:30, then that's absolutely fine. We have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's just being people centric and just making
Yeah.
sure that you're doing right by the people in your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what builds your culture.
Beautiful. And like you said, the pet industry is growing, right? So like how do you
Yeah.
stay informed and ahead of the curve, like when it comes to changes in the industry, what's going on? Like do you go to events? Like how did you stay ahead of the curve?
Obviously podcasts like this are great to listen
Okay.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of industry events, I'd say that we attend the big ones. So we'll attend like Global Pet Expo or Super Zoo, try
Mm-hmm.
and really get in further afield. So Super Zoo was in Las Vegas
Yeah.
earlier this year. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very strange to be in Las Vegas for a pet food conference. I'll say that much. But I think going further afield and going overseas is great to see what other markets are doing, because the American market is very different to the UK market.
Mm-hmm.
Ahead in some ways, behind in other ways. So you can kind of take and leave what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think staying looped into some of the pet business publications. So Edition Dog, they do their consumer magazine, but they also do a magazine for pet professionals, which is super interesting. And then I'd say like people is really the main way that we stay up to date. So we network a lot with other people in the pet space. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the people that we work with for professional services, be that photography or PR or some of the suppliers that we work with, we're always having conversations about like, oh, what do you think is going to be the next thing? And have you heard about this? And just sort of sharing ideas back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you can tap into that pet industry network, then
Mm-hmm.
that's how you kind of stay on ahead of the curve and stay on top of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or are there any specific international markets you're targeting to expand the canine menu, like anything in particular?
Yeah. So we're actually heading to our first trade show in the Netherlands in January, which is very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, strategically, the Netherlands is a great place to start in terms of logistics and sort of exporting and distribution in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's also incredibly dog friendly over there, especially as you get out of the city into sort of more of the rural areas. So that's going to be really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually also, I've just relocated to Washington, D.C. in the States. So potentially looking at expanding over here, although the market is, there's definitely more for us to understand in this market before we make any bold moves. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think maybe 2026 might be when that kicks off.
Mhm. And what do you think is the unique benefit of the canine menu that you think make it stand out from other products in the market?
Mm. I think I think really what has put us at an advantage is yes, we're a pet business, but we don't really put ourselves in the category of being a pet business.
Mm,
And
mm,
for all intents and purposes, we operate as if we are a human food business. So
mhm,
we tap into the route to market and the distribution network. We hold ourselves to the same standards as a food business. We market ourselves as though we're a food business. So I
mhm.
think it's really like stepping out of like the constraints or the box that
Yeah.
you can sometimes get put in
Mhm,
by identifying as like one particular industry. So we're kind of like, yeah, okay, we're in the pet industry because we are like we're a product for dogs,
mhm,
but don't think of us like dog food. Think of us like bar snacks. Think of us like a bag of peanuts, you know? And then when
mhm,
you change that mindset of your buyers, that's when they start to see the full potential of the product as a commercial revenue generator for them. So I
mhm.
think, yeah, I think the approach of being food service first and only, we will
Yeah.
never be distracted by retail. That like absolute focus on hospitality,
Mm,
I think that's probably what puts us at an advantage.
mhm. Definitely. And last question from my end, Jessica, if you could give one piece of advice to entrepreneur looking to get started in a pet related business, then what would it be?
I'm trying to think if it would differ for people in a pet related business. I actually think I'm going to put it out there, and I think that the pet space potentially has a slightly lower bar to entry
Mm, yeah.
than some other industries. So, coming from fintech, and
Mm,
I also I had a business in health tech for a while. The
mm.
bar to entry for those industries
Yeah, it's
is
extremely high.
just
Mm,
unbelievable. The amount of
mm,
money you need, the network you need is unbelievable. The
mm,
pet industry is a really great place to sort of dabble with business and try different ideas. And
mm,
people will spend on their pets. So there is a solid market there to play with.
mm,
And
mm,
also, people are always looking for the next best thing for their
mhm,
dog or for their
mhm,
cat. So
mhm,
I think the pet industry is a really great place to try
mhm,
and
mhm,
take an entrepreneurial leap. And I would
mhm.
say that my advice very much mirrors the advice that I received from, the professor
Yeah,
back
yeah,
from university is
yeah.
get out there and do it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Don't
Mm.
wait for it to look and sound amazing,
Yeah.
and don't,
Mhm. Because
spend loads of
there's literally no perfect plan, right? I mean, once you
exactly.
definitely go into it, then you will realize like, okay, it has its ups and downs.
Exactly that, yeah. And I think learning along the way, you're better off learning early in your journey that actually the branding needs to go a different direction or the product
Yeah,
needs to go a
yeah.
different direction
Hmm.
than spending loads of money and time perfecting something. And then, like, quite frankly, being upset when someone gives you that feedback. Like, if you're going with a product and going, like, I don't think it's great, but, I'm going to sell it anyway. And they go, oh, I don't think it's great. You should do X, Y, Z. You're
Yeah.
not, it's easier to take that feedback on
Mm,
board when you know that there's still room for growth.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah, get out of the armchair, and just give it a go because at least you'll know whether it's going to work or not.
Definitely. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Pet Brand Podcast, Jessica. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and thank you so much for sharing your journey and the incredible story behind the Canine Menu and all the thoughtful ways you be making the world of more dog friendly, when one venue at a time. To all our listeners, if you are as impressed as I am, make sure to check out the Canine Menu and see how they are bringing wagging tails and happy moments to dog-friendly venues across the UK. And I will leave all the links in the description below. Thank you so much once again, Jessica, for on the
Thank you so much for having me. Loved it.
great, amazing. So yeah, this